Well, hello, gorgeous. Let's talk about references. A lot of the newer models I talk to don't know how to check references, or even that they need to. When you work as a freelance model, you don't have an agency backing you to check up with the photographers you work with and make sure that they have good reputations and will treat you well. This doesn't mean just making sure that you're safe and go unmolested or don't get murdered. This also means that the photographer behaves respectfully, will pay you properly, and doesn't do anything that would make you uncomfortable or that is considered unethical. Checking references is not an insult to the photographers that you work with. It does not mean that you don't trust them. It means that you are a business person who takes steps to protect themselves and their business. This is something that you should do with every photographer, not just the ones who send up red flags or that you don't trust. If they're sending up red flags, you probably want to consider that and perhaps even turn them down without checking references, if you have worked long enough to know that your red flags are typically trustworthy. So, how do you go about checking references? The only portfolio site I have experience with is Model Mayhem. I've been using them for 6 years, and I've never had any reason to leave them for a different site. So, I'm going to tell you how to check references on Model Mayhem. When you check references on Model Mayhem, most models check to see whether photographers have model credits listed at the bottom of their portfolios or models tagged in their portfolio. Those are both great ways to check for credits and find models to check references with. The credits note section that Model Mayhem has implemented does allow models to leave feedback for photographers. However, I always recommend sending those models a personal message privately to just make sure that their following interactions with that photographer have also been good. There's been many times that I've left a positive tag or comment for a photographer and then had a second shoot with them and had a bad experience and no longer recommend that photographer. As much as I would love to go back and remove those tags from every photographer that happens with, sometimes I forget that I even left the positive tag in the first place. So it's always a good rule of thumb to send that private message and just make sure that that model does still recommend the photographer. Now, if this photographer has no credits and does not tag the models in their portfolio, a good way to find models to check with is to go through the tags. See if anybody has commented "thanks for the shoot" or "nice to meet you." Those are models that you can check with for references. Other than that, you can also go to their portfolio and look to see if they have credited pictures. If they have credited pictures, that means that models have posted their photos in their portfolios, so you can go to those models and check with them for references. Off of Model Mayhem, there aren't as many ways to find references. If the photographer is on Facebook or Instagram, you can look to see if they've tagged models in the photos they've posted. If so, you can send those models private messages. Just be aware that on Facebook, if you're not a friend with the person that you're messaging, they might not get the message because it could go to their other folder. So you might have to do a little more homework and search a little deeper to find models to check references with if you're not on Model Mayhem and are only corresponding with photographers through social media. Still, this is a step that you should not skip. This is a very important step in keeping yourself safe and doing your due diligence as a freelance model. Even if the photographer doesn't hurt you per se, they could have a habit of hiring models and then refusing to pay them after the shoot. These are things that you want to be aware of. Please make sure when you ask a model for references that you are polite and that you give her all the needed information. Don't just say, "Hey, so-and-so wants to work with me and I saw that you worked with them. How are they?" Provide their name if you have it, the name that they go by for photography, and a link to their profile or their work. That way the model can figure out who this photographer is. There's a chance she only shot with him 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe only once or at a group shoot. Give them the information they need to give you the information you need. Also, be polite, be respectful. Appreciate the time that they are taking to help you out. Don't assume that you are owed a reference. Please make sure not to burn any bridges with models who could help you in the future. With that said, if any of you need a reference on a photographer I've worked with, I am always happy to provide references. Additionally, please remember to be nice to any models who check with you for references. It's a great way to start to grow a network of models who can help you further your career. I know that the typical expectation of models is that we be catty and competitive and not work with each other. But in reality, in the freelance modeling industry, it's more imperative than ever that we work together and support each other. This appears in many ways, which I may talk about in the future. But I urge you to start networking with models, to provide references willingly, and to start asking for references and thanking the models who you ask profusely. Offer to provide them references if they ever need it. Start a conversation. Speak with other models, grow that network, and be safer for it. That's it on this topic for now. Talk to you next time.